Greetings, everybody. Today is the 28th of August. This is the fourth session that we're recording today. We just got finished doing a session with Daryl Eberhardt. And Michael, we are going to touch on Science is the New Religion, session 36. We're in the Grecian Empire, part 5, and it's the big medicine episode, and we're going to touch on something that we haven't touched on yet, Michael, and I'm ready to delve in there.
Yeah, at least one, at least you.
yeah, that's right.
Because it's 4 minutes before midnight here, and I'm not afraid because I know that you're never alone.
That's right.
So welcome, session 36, Greece, part 5. And I don't know if we can cover that in one episode. It's about medicine. Why Greece and medicine? Well, if you go to Wikipedia, the free or not so free encyclopedia, they tell you that medicine is the science and practice of the diagnosis, prognosis, treatment, and prevention of disease. The word medicine itself is derived from Latin medicus, meaning a physician. What does that have to do with Greece? A physician is a healer, one who practices the art of healing disease. A doctor of medicine is a physician. Interesting. Because Latin physicia means not medicine, but natural science.
Yeah, I was going to wonder about that, Michael, because, you know, physics, there's this topic when you go in high school here in the United States. We have a subject in science called physics, yes, and this is definitely in relation to that. But yet, when you study physics, it mainly has to do with a different kind of science. It's more of wrapping everything together, you know, in a real broad sense, but nothing to do with the physical body. It's interesting.
Yeah. So medicine comes from Latin and means a physician, but a physician is a healer and a doctor of medicine. So a doctor of medicine means that is someone who is professionally a healer, practicing the art of healing disease. Okay, so far so good. And in Latin, physicia, so a physician, means natural science. So he is a scientist. It's the science of health or of medicine. Okay, so if physics, it's a natural science, the science of the principles operative in organic nature. You see, there is your medicine. Organic nature has something to do with healing and health. Organic nature. From physics in sense of natural science. So the science of the organic nature. Okay, based on Latin physica, or Greek, ta physica, literally the natural things, title of, let's see, Aristotle's treatise on nature. So that means, in my humble opinion, that physics, at least physics, the natural things, is derived from Aristotle.
Wow. Okay. Good.
Yeah, or not so good.
Very good. Well, it's good in the sense that we know the origin now. Yes.
Yeah. So before the rise,
that is troubling. I must agree. See, the only reason I says good is because, you know, just because I liked physics in high school doesn't mean it's a good wholesome teaching to be doing nowadays, Michael.
Yeah, but the problem is that we in last session we have learned that there is not much substance in Aristotle's science sometimes.
No, not biblical substance is zero.
Yeah, sure, but you see that also Alexander the Great wasn't that convinced about the geology, for example, of Aristotle. So if you are busy with so many subjects like Aristotle was because he was into biology, he was into
geology, yes.
Geology, thank you very much, and politics and so forth and so forth and so forth. You cannot be an expert in that many fields. You have to concentrate on several items, but not on the average stuff. That means that you are superficial, or you want to look like to be wise. We know that Aristotle was the teacher of Alexander the Great, and we know that Aristotle was a Greek guy. So, question occurs: how much influence did the Greek had on medicine? Physicist. So many English words.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, it's a student of physics.
Yes.
Yeah.
36. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but you see that this is a very interesting sentence here. Before the rise of modern science, so there's ancient science and modern science, physics was usually defined as the science of that which is movable, or the science of natural bodies. So, nevertheless, it is a science.
Oh boy, we're really getting into something else here.
It was commonly made to include all natural science. At present, vital phenomena are not considered objects of physics, which is divided into general and applied physics. But in the old days, in the ancient times, medicine was, or physics, or a physicist, or a physician was a scientist into the principles of organic nature. Okay, so they are hence a part of natural science. It was used earlier in the sense of one versed in the medical sciences. This comes from Etymology Online, 1617. But this was rare, and by the 19th century obsolete, because, of course, in the 19th century, 1800 plus, you had many new things coming up, technique, electricity, laboratoriums, etc., etc., etc. And so from there on, in my humble opinion, they specified the things so that you have not medicine in general, but you divided it in several things like they did earlier here when they had this divided into general and applied physics. Today you got doctors for several things. It's not one doctor who knows it all, but you have to have specialists, experts in the field. So one versed in the medical science.
Very well, Michael. You took it straight from the video, yeah.
There. Straight from the pit, yes.
Yes, you did. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, there it is. There it's him. So it's him. That's when he's pointing out science. Yeah. So science is, you see, she blinded me with science. Yeah. And the meaning of science here, or blinding someone with somebody or someone with science, actually means to blind someone with science confused by the use of big words or complex explanations. From 1937, you see in the 20s, in the 20th century, people could be blinded with science. They could be confused because everything was getting more complex. Okay. So what's the use of their science? Because in Greek, you have gnosis, a feminine noun, and which means, of course, what can it mean? Knowledge or science. And we know that science is knowledge. Especially of things lawful and unlawful for Christians. Moral wisdom, the deeper, the more perfect, enlarged knowledge of this religion, outline of biblical usage. This is Greek 1097, knowing by implication, knowledge, science. There you got it once again. So gnosis in Greek means science. As we know that the New Testament and the book of Revelation had been translated or been written down in Greek, we have the word Greek 5331 pharmakeia. a medication that is, by extension, magic, literal or figurative, sorcery, witchcraft. Pharmakeia has something to do with medicine, I suppose. Well, as we are here in the Greek language, where pharmakeia means medication, it must be the tool of the doctor of medicine or the physicist or the one who is healing somebody in the way that Aristotle was teaching, because it is down to Aristotle. So this is medication. These are the tools of the doctors of medical science. So far, so bad. This is the statue of Asclepius, the Greek god of medicine. Greek, once again, the god of medicine. And therefore, if you like to say so, the role model for Aristotle. Because this is the Greek god of medicine. They had a separate god for medicine only, holding the symbolic rod of Asclepius, which is called Serpent, a tree to be wise. And he's a specialist in medical speciality. So medicine, for example, in general, Wikipedia tells us, is the art, science, and practice of caring for a patient and managing the diagnosis, etc., of their injury and disease. Okay, so we are using here a Latin word, actually, medicine, from medicus, but the patron of medicine is the Greek god Asclepius, holding the rod with the called serpent. Medicine has been practiced since prehistoric times. What are prehistoric times? Yeah. There is no record about it, so it's just a legend. I see. So like the Babylonian prehistoric times before Europe, but nobody knows what happened then. But yeah, it's just a bunch of tales and legends. So during most of it, which was an art, the knowledge, once again, a science, frequently having connections to the religious and philosophical beliefs of local culture. Once again, religion and philosophical beliefs. Yeah, you know what this is? You know what this is? This is it. This is theosophy.
Yes.
This is the mixing of religious, of theology, and sophistic. Yeah. It's theosophy, in my humble opinion. For example,
very interesting, Michael. Go ahead.
For example, a medicine man would apply herbs and say prayers for healing. So you see, you got the mixing of the holy and the profane for healing. Or an ancient philosopher and physician. You see, both of them, philosopher and physician, or would apply bloodletting according to the theories of humorism. In recent centuries, since the advent of modern science, most medicine has become a combination of art and science under the umbrella of medical science, knowledge, that is. Medical science means medical knowledge, the knowledge of the organs or the natural science of the organs. That is medical science. Okay, so that we know that once again you got the mixture and the mingling of religion and this time philosophy. What comes into my mind are these so-called medicine men from the Native American cultures, for example. Yeah, so the ones who are praying to the gods and just preparing some herbs and some potions, etc. Yeah, this is always these medical men's shamans. Yeah, this is what comes into my mind if I look upon the American continent. So you got several things about medicine, and once again, medicus. I just have to skip back here on medicus. What does medicus means? A physician, and a physician is a healer, a doctor of medicine. So It's like running around in a circle between Greek and Latin language. Okay. Forms of medicine are now known as traditional medicine and folk medicine. They remain commonly used with instead of scientific medicine and are thus called alternative medicine. Alternation or an alternative to what? Now, there are certain forms of medicine today. That's interesting because if there weren't, there were no alternative. Okay, as an example, evidence on the effectiveness of acupuncture is variable and inconsistent for any condition, but is generally safe when done by an appropriate trained practitioner. In contrast, alternative treatments outside the bounds, not just of scientific medicine, but also that of safety and efficiency, are termed Quakery. So it depends on who has got a license. Who's doing what? Yeah, you need a license, a proof for everything.
Yeah, that's quackery, you know, like you're a quack, you're a fake.
Yeah. Okay, so not going into this, but with just over half of chiropractors also rejecting the science of immunization. I think it's big enough. Yeah, so there are really people who are rejecting the science or the knowledge of immunization. I don't think that we will cover that part of medicine in this session. It's about the basics actually here, where it all comes from. The King James Version translates Strong's pharmakeia, Greek, with the following manner: sorcery and witchcraft. The use of administering of drugs, poisoning, sorcery, magical arts, you see, this would be a religious terminology here. That would mean that there is the religion practice incorporated, magical arts, often found in connection with idolatry and fostered by it. Of course.
Oh yeah.
Who's
the main issue here?
What is the name of the idol? It's Asclepius.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Greek god of medicine. Yeah, the deceptions and seduction of idolatry. Once again, it's a Greek idol. Or Hippios, a hero and a god of medicine in ancient Greek religion and mythology. Aha. Yeah? Shines a light on it here. So that is, in my humble opinion, also the reason why the King James Bible and especially the Strong's Concordance, they translate the word with pharmakeia. Comes and pharmakeia, medication, pharmakeia. But pharmakeia means magic and sorcery and witchcraft, because the pharmakeia that the people, the follower of idolatry, were handing out was being considered in the light of the Bible as magical arts, because it is a religious practice to follow and to worship the pagan god Asclepius. Yeah, there you got the physicians too. Okay, I hope you can follow my train of thoughts here. Deceptions and seductions of idolatry. Yeah, pharmakeia means pharmacy today. If you think that I'm exaggerating the subject here or not being close to the Bible, then let's open eSword for just a brief moment, and then go to Revelation. I think it was 18 somewhere. I have to look it up. 18, yes. Babylon is fallen. Yeah, and this was the verse which we have read, I think, in the first session of it, what we ever did on the subject of science is the new religion, that Babylon the Great is fallen.
Oh, I think it's sorcery at the end of Revelation 18, is it? At the very end?
Yeah, it's the very end, but this is just the start
right.
of this is just
sure.
the start of it. And I think that the main prolific verse is verse 3.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and it reads, "For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have waxed or have committed fornication with her, the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you have the merchants of the earth again. And then in a later verse, it is the verse 23, their sorceries have been labeled or named, translated, and the origin of the word is this Greek pharmakeia. Would you like to read 23 maybe?
Sure. And verse 23 reads, and the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee, for thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by their sorceries, for by thy sorceries, were all nations deceived.
So sorceries has been named here or been translated here from Greek 5331. Okay, so and this is the eSword King James Bible Plus with all the names and all the translations of it. And then we go into that very verse, which was verse 23. Okay, so sorceries, there you got it. Pharmakeia, medication. So with medication, by the sorceries were all nations deceived. So by the use of medication, pharmacy, all nations were deceived. What did the whore of Babylon or the Babylonian system, what did they use to deceive the people? They used medication. And we know that medication or pharmakeia is another word for poison. Some can argue that it is just a spiritual poison. Nonetheless, if you see that in modern times, there are these kind of stores where you get poison. It does not depend on the doses, actually. They are having and selling poison. Real poison for mankind. Pharmakeia means sorcery. So with this kind of medicine, for example, antidepressants or sleeping pills, yeah, this is just poison because it is not natural. This is so-called science. How to deceive people. Yeah, if somebody cannot sleep, oh, just hand me over some pills. They're not going into the nature and collecting herbs. No, they just go into these chemical drug stores where they have drugs and they are collecting their poison. It's pharmakeia. It comes down from Greek pharmakeia, means the cult of Asclepius. For example, the University of Oklahoma has that kind of a symbol, the College of Pharmacy.
Look at that.
Look at that.
God, the serpent's on now. It's a what do you call this again? A chalice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Chalice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and here you got it. I think that it's maybe Spain. Hector would know it. Pharmacia and drugstore. You see that they're even admitting it. These are drugs. If you don't know what drugs are, and I'm not quite sure that I have covered it correctly, so let's look it up. What are drugs actually? Narcotics, opiates, see drug. Any substance used in the composition or preparation of medicine. So it has to do with medicine. But drugs, especially, I think, means that a medicine which you are depending on. Yeah, so you have to take it constantly. Yeah? Specific application to narcotics and opiates is by late 19th century. Through the association of the word with poisons is from 1500s. Drug addict is recorded by 1968. Phrase a drug on the market, etc., 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 etc. So a drug means in the 16th century to mix a drink with drugs, make narcotics or poisonous. Poisonous.
Yeah, the serpent's got poison all right.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's what I was just wanting to ask you. What does the snake carry as her weapon?
Yeah, that's right. Oh.
And what is the most prolific method of killing somebody in a religious community? You see how it all comes together?
Yeah. Well, we know from studying the history of the Jesuit order, that's one of their favorite tactics.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Exactly.
Yeah, the listeners can do their own research, and they can combine the facts. Sometimes I'm just giving a hint, and people will combine it for themselves, because I think that serves their memory better than just listening to anybody who's speaking out. And there are many disinformation agents around YouTube and BitChute, etc., etc. So just please do your own research.
Mm-hmm.
So in Numeri, in the King James Bible, yeah, there is also a story where the modern day scientists.
Oh, that must be German. Numeri. What book is that?
Numeri, yeah, numbers. Yeah, numbers.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
No problem.
They try to get away with that because they will tell you, oh no, it has not the content of Asclepius or Greece or Greek, especially. It resembles on a story of the Bible. The problem is that pharmakeia is a Greek word, and they didn't speak Greek in Numbers when they were they were speaking in Aramaic, for example, in Hebrew, but they did not speak Greek. So you see, it cannot, the name itself, pharmakeia, cannot relate to the book of Numbers. It's the wrong language. But I don't know if the people know this this occurrence here. Maybe we should read it.
Sure. Numbers 21, chapter 21, verse 5. And the people spake against God and against Moses, wherefore have ye brought us out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no bread, neither is there any water, and our soul loatheth this light bread. And the Lord sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and much of the people of Israel died. Therefore the people came to Moses and said, We have sinned, for we have spoken against the Lord and against thee. Pray unto the Lord that he take away the serpents from us. And Moses prayed for the people. And the Lord said unto Moses, Make thee a fiery serpent, and set it upon a pole. And it shall come to pass that every one that is bitten, when he looketh upon it, shall live. And Moses made a serpent of brass, and put it upon a pole. And it came to pass that if a serpent had bitten any man, when he beheld the serpent of brass, he lived.
Mm-hmm. So this is the biblical story. Now we have to face the fact that there are two stories. One is the story of the pagan god from the Greek Asclepius with his rod of a serpent. And this is a biblical story of Moses having made a serpent of brass and put it upon a pole. So who's right?
They can't both be right.
They can both be right. So which is which? Which is which? The Lord said unto Moses, so it was an order from God. So the fiery serpent that Moses made was been made upon the order of the Almighty Lord. It was only for these Israelites where that fiery serpent was made. Interesting enough, in 21:6 we learn that the Lord himself sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and much of people of Israel died. How can that be? Why did he send fiery serpents? Because because fiery serpents means a burning serpent, and that means that at least the bite must be extremely painful and also was fatal. Why did these serpents bit the people of Israel? I think that's like a allegory here, that he uses the serpent, that people who did not follow the commandments of God were bitten and died. Because much of the people of Israel died. You see, much of the people of Israel died, not one or two, much of the people of Israel died. So the people who were on the broad way leaded to destruction. It's my first hint, my first thought which came into my mind. So that was upon the order of God. And also it relies to Egypt, because you see that the serpent of Moses was beating up the serpents of the Pharaoh when it came down to a competition in front of the Pharaoh. I think it was in the book of Exodus. But here in the later book, in the book of Numbers, we have also the symbol of the serpents. And God himself sent the serpents to bit the people of Israel. And that can only mean, in my humble opinion, that these people didn't obey the Lord. These, for example, the people who were worshipping images and idols, for example, the golden calf. You see, because in the next verse we learn that the people came to Moses and said, "We have sinned, for we have spoken against the Lord. And therefore, when they have repented, then the Lord said unto Moses, okay, make thee a fiery serpent." So a serpent which is consuming the other serpents, for example. A fiery serpent, a special serpent, a special serpent. It's not the same serpent as the serpent where the people have been bitten, but this is a serpent which will heal the people, more or less, even by looking upon it. You see that when he looked upon it, not touching it, not healing it by a hand or something like that, like a healer of Reiki or Chi or what else. No, just by looking at. So if somebody is not looking at the fiery serpents anymore, but is repenting and looking at the serpent or the healing device, let's say it this way, of the Almighty God after he has repented, then he will live. But now I find it extremely interesting that God is also using once again a serpent to beat a serpent, or to heal the people from the serpent when they were, before they repent. And also another thing occurs here. Look at here. He made a serpent of brass. Where do I know that from? Brass. There was something with the Metal Man image. Metal Man Daniel image. So we know that is bronze. This is absolutely incorrect. It was brass. So switch to another thing here. So we know that the thighs were of brass and they were representing Greece. So I don't know. I don't want to make anything up here. I don't know if brass was just the common and I think the less expensive metal they could make anything out of. But Greece has been represented by brass. Brad.
Yeah, that's right. That's correct.
Here it speaks of bronze. That is incorrect. It's brass in the King James Bible. So once again, so they were not worshipping. They were just looking at it. Yeah, it does not say they will worship the serpent. Okay, so this is just an image here. I don't like to show images, but I think it is here for a good reason. You see that the people here are not bowing down in front of the snake. Okay,
they just look at it.
They just look at it. They just look at this at the fiery serpent which were made by Moses to heal the people. So they were following the order from Moses, or the law of Moses. Okay, that's would be
this
my
image
guess.
might not be accurate because it speaks of a staff, not a cross.
Yeah,
and that's what
absolutely
I
correct.
will testify to. I was to a neighbor's funeral some years ago, and my neighbor died while he was out shoveling his walk, more or less, because he wouldn't go see a doctor. And anyway, I went to the funeral, and at the funeral, one of the so-called priests or pastors, whatever you prefer to call the man, I'm sure he was, just the choice of the family, spoke about the serpent on a cross. And it piqued my interest, and I looked it up when I got home. And I found out that's not a cross. It's exactly the scripture that we're reading now. It's a rod or a staff, isn't it, Michael?
Yeah.
So what they're doing here by these images is they're confusing the matter to fit the more modern predicament that they can utilize replacing the staff with the cross. And, that's an entirely different study I don't wish to get into here.
No, but you're absolutely correct, because I discovered the website before.
Yes.
You mentioned it, which absolutely has the same, does make the same connection.
Yes.
Yeah. So it is, therefore, you see that the compass snake staff history, I said it here not in straight letters, but it in what's the name of it? It's not straight. You see, this is not straight letters, but italic. Is it italic? Was it italic? Italic, yeah. Therefore, I used to mark things as italic, which I'm not convinced and I'm not satisfied with. Yeah.
Right.
But just to see that people make the same symbolism that Brett just mentioned. Yeah. Have you ever noticed the similarity between medical symbols and the first reading for the Feast of the Exaltation of the Cross?
Oh boy.
Yeah. The one about the bronze serpent when it was a brass serpent, etc., etc.
Oh, geez, isn't that something?
Yeah. Yeah, that's because various medical personnel, including paramedics and the American Medical Association, uses the snake and twine staff to symbolize healing. The rod or staff of Asclepius is the ancient name for this emblem, which is sometimes incorrectly called a caduceus. But the problem is that the rod of Asclepius has nothing to do with the Bible.
Well, there we go. It's all steeped in esotericism.
Yes, it's mixed up. It's theosophy once again. It's ancient theosophy, if you like to say so. Yeah, so that's it. What is she blinded me with science? Confused by the word of big words or complex explanations. Confusion is always the weapon of Satan or the serpent himself. What would you think why a serpent is the symbol of medicine? Medicine comes from medicus, means a healer. And they're using a rod of Asclepius, so they're not using a rod of Moses. It's not called the rod of Moses for obvious reasons, because the rod of Moses, if you like to say so, was just only for the Israelites.
Yeah.
And on one occasion. It was not generally meant for all the people in all the world, because it was just on one occasion to show the power of God and the mercy of God to the Israelites. It has nothing to do with the rod of Asclepius or the staff of Asclepius, for that matter. Yeah. According to Homer's Iliad, Asclepius was a physician who tended the soldiers wounded on the battlefield of Troy, or at Troy, sorry, at Troy. Okay. So there is much confusion. There is much confusion, and this is the sign of Satan, that there is spreading confusion. Oh, God is coming up with a miracle, then I will have another mystery, then I will spread out a legend, then I will let somebody write a book and totally writing against it, like the book of Enoch, with so many strange things about it, is Apocryphica. Yeah, so that it's once in the King James Bible, Jesus is of divine origin, and in other books, in other Gospels of Apocrypha, he's just an ordinary man kissing Maria Magdalene, etc., etc. Yeah, and this is the same here, in my humble opinion. It is to spread doubt, to just spread confusion, blinding you with science once again. What would you like, to believe in Moses and the King James Bible, or believe in what's the name here, Homer's Iliad?
Yeah.
So if you believe the human, the worldly source, then for the time of Hippocrates, 380 before Christ, the founder of medicine as a science, Asclepius, has become more than a human healer. Oh, how can you become more as a human healer? It's very obvious. He's been handled as a god.
And
right. Nowadays, medical doctors are being seen as demigods. Like Asclepius, more than a human healer. What's the difference between then and now? It's a very broad term in Germany. Many people call the doctors, oh, they are demigods. Yeah. He had been raised, speaking of Asclepius, he had been raised to divine status and was called the son of Apollo, the son of the sun god. Wow. What's that? Another Tammuz? Speaking of Alexander Hislop and the two Babylons bread. This Asclepius was so skilled as healer that he was even said to have raised someone from the dead. Where do I know that from? Of course, if he is the son, or if he would have been the son of Apollo, which had never existed, he would be the son of the sun god, or the Olympic Mount Olympus in Greek. So he was the son of Apollo. That means he was a god, or at least a demigod, and he could raise someone from the dead. So he must be of divine origin. This is a mockery of course, of the Almighty Lord, Creator God, for which Zeus, the king of the gods, or if you like to say so, another name of Satan, killed him. According to the truth? No. According to the legend. Asclepius, who never existed, as Socrates, who supposedly never existed, and many other people and all the names of the Greek Olymp never existed, he, speaking of Asclepius, received his healing powers. Oh, he received his healing powers. He did not study anything. He just received his healing powers because the goddess Athena, and she's very prominent also nowadays, had been given the blood of Medusa of snake-haired fame. Bible, anybody?
Oh, yike.
The life is in the blood. Yeah, and the Medusa has something to do with the snake. And it is just a legend, but he received healing powers of the goddess Athene. And if you don't, if you are not convinced anymore, then Athene is the capital city of Greece, even in 2021. So please tell me, what has changed? What has changed? Look at the etymology of Greece, etymology and names. In earlier Greek, such as Homeric Greek, the name has been current in a singular form, though Athena. It was possibly rendered in the later plural, blah, 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 blah. It was debated whether Athens took its name from a patron goddess Athena, and I don't think that we have to debate that. Because Athena is the patron goddess of Athens. Modern scholars now generally agree that the goddess takes her name from the city, the capital city of Greece, which is one of the countries of the European so-called Union. Europe being the lover, the female lover of the god king Zeus, or the mistress of Zeus. And who's Zeus nowadays? I think you can figure that out. Yeah? You see, that is, if you compare that with the Bible, there is so much symbolism in here and so much things which have been revealed even by that small sentences here, then you know what they are mocking actually and what they are doing. This is just legend here. It never happened. There never was an Apollo. There never was a Zeus. It's just all names for Satan and his fallen angels, if you like to say so. Biblical,
yeah, snake-haired fame gives it all away.
Yeah. Biblical experts generally agree that the Exodus took place around the 13th century BC. The story of the Exodus also contains a story about the healing power of a snake emblem. Yeah, sure.
Only to Israel, though. That's what they don't tell you.
Only to Israel and only from the Almighty God. And he did not
That's
say.
Right. For those that have faith. Yes.
Yeah, and because they repented.
Yes.
And they followed the Almighty God out of bondage in Egypt.
Ooh, what's this quote have to say here, Mike? The healing powers associated with the staff of Asclepius and the Israelite bronze serpent may imply a relationship between the two symbols, said Rabbi Ari Vernon, a contributor to the quote-unquote Jewish Lights website in St. Louis. Quote, the ancient Greeks may have borrowed from the ancient Israelites or vice versa. Oh, yeah. We both may have appropriated from from another local culture. The history, however, is secondary to the lessons that our traditions about the icon teach us. Oh boy, what is this?
Yeah, the history is secondary to our traditions.
What?
Yeah, that's what's been said here. That's the same as if you would say, oh, the Bible is secondary to our catechism.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Okay, right. This is Rabbi Ari. This is just opinion. This is not truth, huh? This is just opinion.
Well, doesn't it say in the Bible, "Call no man rabbi"?
Yeah.
Teacher.
Yeah.
Matthew, well, I mean, I'm not trying to
no, of course,
offend the religious convictions of our Jewish brethren, but listen, you have to make a choice at some point. Is it going to be Christ or what? And
only the Bible, the Bible speaks of repentance. I didn't catch that phrase in the story or the legend of Asclepius.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you because I think
no. Go ahead.
It's a very interesting subject. This.
Please keep going.
Yeah.
I just couldn't help but intercede there.
Yeah, Moses at the command of God, which means that only God can heal people or raise people from the dead, if you would insist. But you see that's the thing. It is not a doctor of medicus who can raise people or can heal people with the rod of Asclepius, because Asclepius was a god. So what's the point when Asclepius? Even if Asclepius was a god healing people, then what's the point in studying the so-called science and knowledge of Asclepius? Because the students of nowadays are, I'm absolutely sure, are no gods. Or do they feel themselves as gods? That would very much explain our current situation in 2021, I'd say. Okay? Jesus tells Nicodemus, just as Moses lifted up the serpent in the desert, so must the Son of Man be lifted up, so that everyone who believes in him.
That's a really good point, Michael.
Yeah, but you see that is just Nicodemus. Yeah, where is Nicodemus in the King James Bible? Oh.
Oh, this is a false teaching then, huh? What was the Bible reference to? 3:14?
Yeah, maybe it's John 3:14. I'm just going into this.
Doesn't mention what book though.
Yeah, here is it. John. It's the Gospel of John.
Yeah, it is. Okay.
Yeah, but the reference is to Moses and the serpent and not Asclepius and the serpent. The reference is the reference is to Moses when he lifted up the fiery serpent in the wilderness for the part of the Israelites who repented.
Yep.
So must the Son of Man be lifted up for those people who believe in him, who repented of their sins. Has nothing to do with the story of Asclepius. But you see,
they just want you to believe that.
They want you to believe that Asclepius was a god and can raise people from the dead. Yes, sure.
Of course.
And then you know who was first, Moses or Asclepius. We know that Moses existed. What do we know from Asclepius? Next to nothing. Legend, huh? But we know that history is secondary to the traditions.
A tradition. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
There we go with tradition again.
Yeah, Genesis tells us that there was a serpent who tricked Adam and Eve. That's absolutely correct. And now he's mentioning, this website is mentioning Pope Francis, and then you know what message is behind. Huh? Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. The serpent was a symbol of sin, the serpent that kills. Yeah, of course, the serpent has promised, oh, ye shall surely not die when you taste the fruit of the forbidden tree. Yeah, but it has nothing to do with the serpent of Asclepius, and it has also nothing to do.
Listen to this. However, the Pope added, speaking of Jesus' words to Nicodemus, it is also, quote, the serpent that saves. This is the mystery of Christ. Oh, come on.
You see?
Wow.
I cannot back it up because I have picked it up from that website, Brad. But it's very interesting, I think, that we see how things are being manipulated because the snake or the serpent actually.
Here's where they get you, Michael. Just as the bronze serpent revealed God's healing, so did the what?
The cross.
The cross? Wait. It wasn't a cross. See? They tell you it's a cross, the serpent on a cross. No. The serpent was on a staff, buddy.
Yeah, but here, see, a symbol of death and oppression. What is the Pope wearing?
Oh, boy. Yeah, there's plenty of symbols on the Pope.
Yeah, and it makes no sense to go more into this article because it's just one article of millions of articles because we will never end. Yeah.
But I mean, it pretty much answers the question why they put a serpent on a cross and not on a rod or a staff.
Yeah, sure, but it's also
unless you look at the medical associates, that is a serpent on a staff or a rod. So there's quite a contradiction, and then in the doctrine is where they really get you, Michael. That's the point. The preachers and the pastors up in the funerals today are telling us it's a serpent on a cross, and if you're a Protestant, I got a big problem with that.
And when the women saw that the tree was good for food and that it was pleasant to the eyes and a tree to the desire to make one wise, to give knowledge, to have science, that's the downfall here. I can be more clever than anybody else. When I hand out to the forbidden tree and eat the forbidden fruit, taste the forbidden fruit, then I know everything. It's about knowledge. It's about science.
Oh, yeah,
that's what the serpent said.
That's like the definition of occultism being hidden. Oh, it's just hidden knowledge. That's all it is. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, right.
And yeah, but the thing is that he promised, ye shall not surely die. But as far as I'm concerned, Eve died.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course she did.
You see, this is knowledge, knowing good and evil, knowing, wise. Okay, let's move on. So we know why the snake is just to deceive the people, that into believing that it has any connections to Moses. But
yeah,
it just
it's a false doctrine.
It's a false doctrine. Yeah. Sources. Got the source. Greek.
Listen to this, how they twist this here, Michael. The lesson of I'm sorry, I can't give up on this. The lesson of the serpent rod of Moses blossoms into the promise that is the cross of Christ. They really mixed it up behind your back.
Mm-hmm.
And you're forced to read this and believe it on, what is this, Wikipedia or something?
This is Catholic Encyclopedia.
Yeah. Oh, it's Catholic. It's, oh, goodness gracious. Right.
Yeah, it's a different sources here, but you see that.
Wow, that's interesting.
Interesting.
The cross
if you
in itself was a symbol of the oppressive and deadly power of the Roman Empire. What?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious, man. But what they don't tell you is the Roman Empire is still going.
Yeah. And you have also here some figure here with the Osiris pose. The rejection, so you cannot hug anybody.
And then you see the dove going down on the top.
Yeah.
That's a symbol of Freemasonry or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wicked stuff, man.
Yeah, very wicked stuff. Yeah.
Very wicked.
Yeah. The symbol of Roman oppression. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very interesting. But also the source has given me another source, another website. It's GreekMedicine.net. I said, oh, that's interesting. I said, we will never finish.
Yeah, we're never gonna finish.
Never gonna finish. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
you see, introduction, mythology, history, who's who, basic principles, physiology, hygiene, pathology, diagnosis, etc. It all comes down to the rod of Asclepius. For Moses and God's sake.
Oh, man. Incredible.
A gift from the gods. Oh, plural, anybody? Ye shall
Back
be
to the pantheon, Michael.
Ye shall be as gods. Ye shall be as gods. Like the Greek gods, knowing good and evil. Sorry, missed it. There it is.
Well, Catholic Encyclopedia, of course they're going to give you this.
Yeah, sure, they give you this.
Gaia, Mother Nature. Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's very twisted from now on. Yeah, I just wanted to point out in the first session of medicine in Greek that it absolutely has not the reference to Moses in the Book of Numbers. Yeah. Cannot be. So Greek medicine has is something else.
I don't want that last sentence again, Michael. I just didn't quite grasp.
I said it has not. It is not the resemblance or the reference to Moses' staff, because it was just a once in a time appearance, and it just was only for the people of the Israelites who repented. But it has nothing to do with general medicine, especially not when there is a second version of the story from Asclepius. So
yes, Asclepius, yeah. Right, and that's the false doctrine, right there.
That's a false doctrine, yeah, sure. And also you have to bear in mind that they are mixing up the timelines here, yeah.
So we're back to mysticism, back to mythology.
Yeah, because they try to spread it in the same time period as Moses in the Israelites, but apparently the Greek Empire was around 340 before Christ and not 1000 something.
Sure.
So they had to invent something in the past, thousand years ago. Where do I know that from? That you try to invent something in the past, so you have a reference in the here and now.
Yes.
Millions of years ago.
Oh.
And that's because it is a legend. You cannot prove anything.
Hundreds of thousands of years, yes.
Yeah. That's my point. You see, that is just all Greek mythology. Yeah.
There's no possible way you can prove it. See, that's agnosticism. You cannot prove that Christ came. Oh, yeah? Just look at the chronology, buddy.
Mm-hmm. And then try to prove what Asclepius did. Yeah, you got a small historians, but they could not write it down at the moment it happened, because it happened thousands more than 1,000 years, or about 1,000 years ago, before the Greek Empire was a world empire.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a legend, invented legend. And there are many, many other things come into play. Yeah, medicine is and always has been the divine art. Oh, yeah. So that means that every practitioner of medicine, so a doctor, a medicus, we know it is from Latin, is a practitioner of divine art. And that would complement the Bible in saying that it is pharmakeia, it is sorcery, witchcraft, or in other broad names, pharmakeia. The followers of the cult of Asclepius. And if you look upon the symbols of Asclepius, or the symbols of in German, pharmacy means Apotheke. It sounds a little bit strange, I know. Yeah, but Apotheke, and that's their symbol. In Germany, you got this symbol. An A, letter A.
On the chalice again.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. We don't get that here. No, I've never seen this before, Michael.
This is on every German medical drugstore. Yeah, sure.
Oh, wow.
This is Germany.
That's interesting.
It's a logo, you see? Logos.
Ah, yes.
Yeah,
okay.
The logos of the Apotheke. That means that is the logos, the knowledge, the word, logos.
Okay, but there you have the serpent on the balance.
Mm-hmm.
And the green cross there?
Mm-hmm.
Weird.
Yeah. Yeah, just want to show you that this is just a cult.
I've never seen these before. Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, this is just a cult. You see that this is an apotheke, or what you would call a pharmacy.
Right. Yeah, if you just want some old-fashioned aspirin, let's put it that way, you go to the pharmacy. Right?
Yeah, and even it's a Venus drugstore. You see, how obvious must it be? Okay, this is Roman, but you see, medicus comes from originally of Latin. Yeah. So if you want to go into the Greek medicine, there will be coming several sessions into Greek medicine. But let me assure you, it is very much worth the time. I will give you some examples before we have a big session coming up of medicine and mingling Greek into Latin, because we know that in hidden knowledge, for example, the magical Greek papyri, which is Greco-Roman and Greco-Roman Egypt, especially Medo-Persian, Greek, Egypt, Roman, and everything mingled together. It's also the same with medicine, because it once just started, or the philosophy or the theosophy of medicine started its victory in Greece, and then been handed over to the Roman Empire. Just exchange the names, but you see, that's just the Roman Empire's nature, just to exchange the names. The doctrine stays the same. And therefore, if you go to medicine, or medicus is a Latin phrase. Yeah. So it is not a divine art. It is just a divine art if you are worshipping Asclepius as the son of the sun god Apollo.
Yeah, that's right. It's esotericism, but they don't tell you that, of course.
Yeah. To the primitive man, the ability to heal and cure disease seemed to be magical, even miraculous. The gospel of the New Testament, you see, once again,
oh boy,
are filled with miraculous healings of Jesus. Yes, but he was the Son of God, and not every every practitioner of medicine is a miraculous healer, and especially not a Son of God. Every traditional culture has its gods, demigods, and heroes who are associated with the other feeling. You see, mixing everything up. Mixing everything up. They are mixing everything up.
Ecumenism.
Yeah.
Again, like in music, in the sciences too. Ecumenism.
Gaia as Mother Nature personifies the entire ecosystem of planet Earth. Oh, heliocentric system, anybody? Heliocentric system, why? Because Apollo is the sun god. My.
Yeah, and they're calling Earth a planet. It's not a planet.
Yeah, that's why I have highlighted it. And
exactly.
Also, this is a yin way, and there's a yin way and a yang way. Then you are scratching the surface on the Asian tradition, on their symbols. You can go endlessly into this, but nevertheless, I found that very interesting. Huh? So that is just Greek, and you see what is following. And Greek was here ruling about 250 plus years, from 330 to 63 before Christ. And then it says that the Roman Empire started from 146 before Christ. What does that mean? If that is correct, that is very strange here. I just found it. You see, 539 and 539 start, 331 and 331 start, 63 and but 146 before Christ.
It doesn't make much sense.
Doesn't make much sense, but it's so, as I said, you cannot judge it. You cannot say it just stopped and then the other one. It's just an intermingling. It's a process.
Yes.
So we will get back to Greek medicine. And Greek medicine nowadays has been mingled with Latin or Roman for that kind of purpose. But just to have not a very dry session, I just mixed it up, or I just wanted to go to something very interesting, which is very light science, maybe. It's about SOS. How people are being easily deceived. Because SOS on the beach would say that, oh, save our... What does that mean, SOS? Nobody knows, actually, because SOS is just a Morse code, because of the simplicity. And when I was doing the study of the Swedish pop group ABBA with their famous song SOS, I came across the fact that absolutely nobody has a clue what SOS means. Everybody suggests that it means save our souls, but is that the correct? Or is it just a legend or the internet rumor or what else? So sure. This is just a small excerpt here. I'm rushing through it, I promise. Yeah, this is just the Swedish pop group ABBA in the 1970s. You'll see it from their costumes. Okay, so this song of 1975 is called SOS. So when you're near me, darling, can't you hear me SOS? Yeah, somebody is singing, preaching for help. Yeah, and John Lennon, Pete Townsend from The Who, Ray Davies from The Kings, and John Grant have all described it as one of the greatest songs ever written. John Lennon once said it was one of his favorite pop songs. Okay. The Merriam-Webster dictionary says SOS is a definition of an internationally recognized signal of distress in radio code used especially by ships calling for help. A call or a request for help or rescue, first known use of SOS. From Etymology Online, SOS 1910, from International Morse Code, Samuel Morse, who was a big opponent of the Roman Catholic Church, by the way, chosen arbitrarily as being easy to transmit and difficult to mistake, not an initialism acronym for save our souls, not, or anything else. One out over alternative suggestion, CQD, come quickly distress, for example, which is said to mean come quickly distress, okay, or CQ, general call, etc., etc. SOS is a telegraphic distress signal only. The oral equivalent is Mayday, and it's been used since now, today, and tomorrow, because Google launches SOS alert for searches related to the coronavirus. So it is an international symbol of somebody who's asking for help. So could it be that it means something else, or could it be that it has a medical background? Google has activated an SOS alert and search results for searches relating to the coronavirus outbreak, etc., etc. So it has something to do with medicine, I think. Or does it? So SOS can mean the following. Yeah? Have fun.
Special operations, what?
Yeah, you see what the problem is with abbreviations? Yeah, that's the problem. It's been Mayday, save our ship, Secretary of State, sound on sound, speed of sound, special operations squad unit, can mean everything. Sex on Sunday. Yeah. The problem, sounds of silence, the problem is that we know that it has something to do with medicine, something to do with help, something to do with emergency. And then I came up and I said, well, wait, if medicine is a Latin term, medicus, physicist, then what is it if SOS is a short term for a Latin phrase?
Good question.
Yeah, I came up with that idea, I don't know, 1.5 years ago when I was doing in German the lectures with Jörg on ABBA. We needed 36 sessions about that. And I came up with that idea. Sorry to stress you. Si opposit. That's Latin. Okay. So the medical definition of SOS, if occasion require, if necessary, used in writing prescriptions. History and etymology for Latin is si opposit, which means if there is need, if occasion require, a prescription indication that the drug is to only be administered once. I think that almost nobody would have come to that conclusion. And I don't say that is the absolute truth or the absolute correct. It is my interpretation because it has to have a medical background. Safe, you see, it's a distress signal. Yeah, it is about life and death. So it is more likely it does not mean sex on Sundays if a ship is sinking. And SOS, one of the first ships who were making the Morse code, was the Titanic. They sent CQD, come quickly to distress, and SOS alternately. And then they were using SOS in 1912 in April, when the Titanic was actually sinking. So it has something to do with life and death. And so Asclepius is the god of medicine and been claimed that he can raise the dead, etc. But you see, if medicals and medical terms nowadays are in Latin language is the language that the medicals, that the doctors are speaking, not Greek, but Latin. Then why not look for a Latin word of a meaning, special meaning in a medical term, and that is si opposit. A drug. A drug is to be only administered once, or a poison, or what else, or a medicine, name it as you like. Si opposit, there is opus in it. Opus, for example, means a musical one, a work, a labor, an exertion, from opus, work. Like Opus Dei, the work of God. A Catholic organization founded in Spain in 1928. Secret society. So, si opposit means in German, when nötig, means in English, if necessary, if needed. And I said, well, maybe that has something to do with the serpent. That would be very great. Because the serpent, you see, the rod of Asclepius, it's about to, it's alleged in the legend to heal people. Asclepius is a god. So what does snake or serpent, yes, this is German here, I'm sorry, I did not have the time to do it in English too. So serpent or Schlange means serpent or snake. And anguis is in Latin. I said, oh, I'm really sorry. But then I came with another idea. I said, well, what is this? These are roads in Italy. Italy is a famous country with 2 states in it. One is Italy, and the second one is the Vatican. Because Rome is not only the capital city of Italy, Rome is also the Vatican state. Part of Rome is the capital of the Vatican state. What's it called, this kind of twisted roads?
Oh, serpentine.
Yes. So the name serpentine comes from Latin serpens, means snake or serpent. It's a snake-like pattern with very narrow ways, such a street on a mountain hill side. Okay, this is serpentine, from serpent's snake, you see? Like a staff on the rod of Asclepius, for example. It's a serpentine. Interesting enough that there is, in Italy, there are many of these serpentines. Interesting. Okay, serpent. Genesis 3:1.
Yeah. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden?
And you see here the explanation from the Aesop software, Nashash. A snake from its hiss, a serpent. A serpent, a liar or deceiver. For example, John 8:44. This is just German here, but you see that 8:44. Ye are of the father, you the devil. Yeah, and he was a liar from the beginning. Okay, I know that from memory almost, Brett.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So maybe there is also a hidden meaning. It's not only si opus sit, but si opus serpens. Because the serpent has been the healer. Remember, don't mix it up with the fiery serpent from Moses. But also, the fiery serpent of Moses healed the people. The serpent on the rod of Moses for the special Israelites. And if you can come to the conclusion that si opus sit is a medical term.
That's right, Michael. Like it said in Scripture, the serpent was lifted up in the wilderness, just like the Son of Man will be lifted up.
Yeah. What many people don't know is that S is a symbol of Satan or the serpent in itself. I can go more.
Peter Gabriel, so yeah.
So si opus serpens means if the snake or if the serpent or the works, if the works of the serpent. So you see, there are many things about it, but you see that S is a serpentine in itself. The letter is a serpentine in itself, and 0 or O means a circle or almost a circle means a spiritual thing. A circle is always depicted as a spiritual thing. Yeah. So there you got another hint where you can draw your conclusions. So then what else? It's an emergency call. You see the symbol SOS, si opus sit or si opus serpens, if you like to say so. Maybe you get another conclusion. You have an own idea, and a telephone on it. So what happens if you call 911? You are in need. Yeah, in need means distress, emergency need. No, come quickly, distress was the old emergency pattern on the Morse code, and then it went to SOS. Okay, so it means distress, emergency need. If you are in need, yeah. So if you are in need, you call 911. Yeah, then it is like the same. If you say, "Come quickly, distress. I'm in emergency. I have a special need." Need comes from several languages, even Dutch, means distress, peril, etc., etc., etc. So let's move on. So si opus serpentes, if you would like to say it this way, SOS, means if the snake bites. Or if the snake does its work. You see, si means if, opus means work, and serpentes means serpent. If the work of the serpents, or if the serpent works. And what does the serpent do? He gets you with his poison. What did the fiery serpents that the Lord God ordered, what did they do to the Israelites? They bite them to death. So if a snake has done its work in biting people, then you call SOS because you're in need, you're in fear of your life. And in my humble opinion, it could be highly likely that SOS means si opus serpentes. It would be still Latin, the language of the medicus. And if we are speaking in abbreviations and in codes, it's a violation of Matthew 5:37, which says, "Ye shall say yea, yea, or nay, nay."
Right.
Yeah. But you see that they get away with that because it can mean hundreds of possibilities. And I can tell you if that is the right conclusion, but at least that was the conclusion what I have came up to. Because save our souls, you see that the medicus, the medicine, the doctor does not save your soul.
No, far from it.
Far from it.
Far from it.
Far from it, huh?
About as far as you can go. He'll save your flesh.
Yeah.
Not your spirit.
Absolutely.
That's what happened to my dad. I can tell all our listeners. My dad had a huge, what do you call this? Lost his breath while he was brushing his teeth and basically died right in the arms of my mother.
Sorry for that.
And yeah, it was very traumatic for my mother. Believe me. I went out there and he was brain dead. He was shocked back to life by the SOS call. So there you go.
You see,
it's nothing personal. It's just that's a fact of life. You don't know when you're going to have your last breath in your conscious life, the life you live today. We don't know when the end will be for us ourselves, Michael, but we know that we perish, we die. The flesh dies. The spirit, it will be in holding then. We don't know what will happen here when God comes to judge the quick and the dead. We can only pray that we're found worthy, Michael. That's all we can do.
You see, this is an emergency phone with the indication of SOS. It is not installed on a ship. So it is not only reserved for being used to make an emergency call on the ship. It is a general abbreviation. It's abbreviation or abbreviation? Abbreviation, huh? Okay, so SOS is just a code. Nobody knows what this code actually means. They're telling you that it is very easy to use in a Morse code. 3 short ones, 3 longer ones, then we follow to 3 short ones. Did da 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 did. That's it.
Sure.
But they are not using a Morse code when they are phoning somebody, don't they?
No.
Yeah. So in my humble opinion, it could mean that there's something about a snake. And that's another thing, because you see that we have gone into that. So that the first one was that save our souls cannot be, because it's a medical term. It has nothing to do with the soul. And save our ship is not only restricted to only ships. So it has been interpreted in that code, but it has not necessarily something to do with it. Huh? Okay. Okay. So you see that here's the Morse code of the Titanic: SOS, SOD, CQD, CQD. We are sinking fast. We have struck iceberg, sinking fast. Come to our assistance. Position, lateral, etc., etc. Okay. Yeah. So this is just some vehicles from Germany, vehicles from what else? America, I don't know. Ambulance. Yeah. Emergency. This is the symbol of the emergency doctor in Germany. It's the emergency doctor, Notarzt. Not means emergency, arts means doctor. Yeah, you see the rod of Asclepius with the twisted tongue of the serpent. And with the symbolism, very interesting, red and black. Where do we know that from? It's Satan's pattern. Yeah, red means blood or sin. You have sinned. Therefore, the snake has bitten you, has made a bite on you, because you have sinned. But the doctor cannot help you, because the doctor is not of the name of Moses and did not have a staff. It is coming down to the body itself. Had nothing to do with save our souls. Nothing to do with with soul but with a body. Yeah. So Asclepius is the god of healing and of Greek origin. He is the son of Apollo, and the mother is called Coronis because she was being fornicating, killed her, but he saved the unborn child. Coronis means the one with the crown. Something very recent, I think. The cult of Asclepius was very popular in the classical era with many shrines and temples established throughout Greece and its colonies. The god's cult center was the sanctuary of Epidaurus, which purported to cure supplicants of their ills. The Asclepiades, an ancient guild of doctors, were ministered of the god. Aha. You see, it's a cult.
Oh.
In Greek sculpture, Asclepius was usually depicted as a bearded man holding a serpent and twine staff. Not to be confused with Moses, huh? They did not venerate Moses in Greece. Let me tell you that. I'm quite sure.
No.
I'm quite sure.
No.
Huh?
They needed to indoctrinate you just like they do today.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
No different.
Not going into every nitty-gritty here, but I think that is so much to think about it, where everything had its origin, that I think that the regular student absolutely has no clue, especially when to compare with the Bible. You see, they get you when mixing everything up, like the Freemasons do it. They do it expressively. The Freemasonry, they mix everything together, Catholicism, Freemasonry, pagan things, and everything. And you get a soup, and you eat the soup, and you have been poisoned by the doctrine.
Yeah, I was gonna say, get a little sick there.
Yeah, you see, here are some sources, maybe. Yeah? Plato and Phaedo 118a said Socrates was executed with a dose of hemlock poison. When the poison reaches his heart, that will be the end. He was beginning to grow cold about the groin when he uncovered the face, for he had covered himself up and said, these were his last words, "Cry to me, owe a cock to Asclepius. Pay it and don't neglect it." Yeah, you see? Asclepius, once again. We know that Socrates is legend, huh? Okay. Pausanias, the description of Greece. The sanctuary of Asclepius at Athens, yeah, that's very fitting, is worth seeing both for his paintings and for the statue of God and his children, or his offspring. Once again, the most famous sanctuaries of Asclepius had their origin from Epidaurus. In the first place, the Athenians, who say that they gave a share of their mystic rites to Asclepius, call this day of the festival Epidauria, and they allege that their worship of Asclepius dates from them. Alenion on animals, Greek natural history. A temple thief who had waited for the midmost hour of night and had watched till men were deep asleep came to the shrine of Asclepius in Athens and stole a number of offerings without, as he supposed, being seen. There was, however, in the temple an excellent watcher, a dog, more awake than the attendants, and it gave chase to the thief and never stopped barking, as with all its might it summoned others to witness what had been done. And so at first the thief and his companions in that crime pelted the dog with stones. Finally he dangled bread and cakes in front of it. He had been careful to bring these with him as an attraction to dogs, as he supposed. Since, however, the dog continued to bark where the thief came to the house, where he lodged, and where he came out again, it was discovered where the dog belonged, while the inscriptions and the places where the offerings were set up lacked the missing objects, obviously, etc., etc., etc. Not that interesting. But you see, the Athens superstition was very great. In Alien Historical Miscellany 517, etc., if somebody cut down a small oak tree from a hero's shrine, they executed him. Also, when Artabas struck and killed the bird sacred to Asclepius, the Athenians did not overlook the matter as trivial. They executed him and did not grant a pardon on grounds of ignorance or insanity, because they deemed the god's interest superior to both these considerations. They were quite serious, Brad.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If that is correct. Yeah. You see, they got a festival, they got a temple, and the people were very serious, and they executed the people who stole anything or, yeah. also by accident. Yeah. This is cult. This is a cult. Nowadays, the image of Asclepius and also that of Hygeia, the good health, that is, you guess it, Greek mythology. Greek mythology, Hygeia, the religion of sanitation and hygiene. So quite recent, The goddess of health, sanitation, and hygiene was the stepdaughter of Asclepius. She was worshipped alongside Asclepius in all his healing sanctuaries, or Asclepius. Healers have noticed the close relationship between cleanliness and health. Pestilence and disease flourish where filth and impurities accumulate. Cleans the body both inwardly and outwardly through diet, exercise, lifestyle, and physical regimen, and most diseases are greatly ameliorated and vanish of their own accord. Or maybe let's say, wash your hands and put on a mask.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's always the same. It never ends, it never stops, and it's always the same. Also, there's an oath of Hippocrates, if you like to go into that, but maybe for the next session, because it will never stop. You see, I don't want to motor mouth here, but you see, I find it so fascinating that nobody draws the conclusion that actually the whole medical thing, the whole medical science is a religious cult from Greece.
Mm-hmm.
If you have another opinion about it, you're free to have it. But you see that by this gymnasium in Corinth, 2 Corinthians, anybody, are temples of Zeus and Asclepius. The images of Asclepius and Hygeia, health, are of white marble. 2 Corinthians, anybody. Right, is it too obvious, or am I motor mouthing here? I don't know. I think it is very obvious what actually is going on in the world. People are venerating and worshipping images and idols from the ancient times. I think that's what's going on. That is what's going on today. Here a cult, there a cult, cults everywhere. Southern Greece, cults, every time you see the rod of Asclepius, yeah, or Asclepius. Oh, he has been renamed, Brad, from os in us. Yeah, so instead of yo, you got you. Greco-Roman, marble statue, Vatican Museum. Oh, what a coincidence. Pio Clementino Museum, Vatican Museums, as if we haven't known that already. So I think we have come a long, long way. And I think it's about 1:30 a.m. in the morning here in Germany. And I think at the moment, if we would endure here, I would get sick of it because I have to sleep very soon. Yeah, but you see, these are all the sources here. And we had just finished 45 pages in more than 90 minutes. Yeah, and there is so many cults around. It is always a cult. It's nothing else but a cult. Look at the symbol as the stepdaughter of Asclepius named Hygeia. Look at the symbol here. What is this? Other but a serpent. She's feeding the serpent. She's feeding the serpent.
That's hygiene, huh?
Hygiene, yes. The personification of health, cleanness, and hygiene. Hygiene had the four sisters, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, she plays an important part in her father's cult. While her father was more directly associated with healing, she was associated with the prevention of sickness and the continuation of good health. Her name in the source of the word hygiene. She was imported by the Romans as the goddess Valetudo, the goddess of personal health, but in time she started to be increasingly identified with the ancient Italian goddess of social welfare. Ring a bell? At Athens, Hygeia was the subject of a local cult. Yeah, sure, she was. She was the stepdaughter of the god named Asclepius. Yeah. And interesting enough that she was also worshipped. And this is the Hygeia pentagram. Any questions?
Oh my.
Any questions what that could be? It's quite similar to this, and I don't want to go into every nitty-gritty. You see, it's every time the same, but the people don't look at it. People don't concentrate on things. You cannot be an expert in 10 several fields or branches. Statues of Hygeia were covered by women's hair and pieces of Babylonian clothes. How fitting. How fitting. Babylonian clothes. Huh. She was often depicted as a young woman feeding a large snake that was wrapped around her body. You see where it all gets down to?
Jeez.
You see where it all comes down to, and so I think that we will close it down. I could make much more out of it, but I think on that bombshell here, the Hygeia pentagram worship of the stepdaughter of Asclepius who killed his wife. Yeah, that's the trouble that the world is rushing into. Thank you very much for your time, for your patience. And I would like to hand it over to my beloved brother, Brett.
Well, Michael, I wouldn't have expected to find such a, what can we say, a huge red flashing light in our history lesson today. As the cult of Asclepius. Boy, this is... Yeah, well, that's Greece for you then, I guess, the Greek Empire. So the beast gets around, doesn't he? Yeah. So, well, yeah, that's really something, really something. I would never have expected to find that today in our lesson, but here we are. This is it. Yeah, Coronis. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, she was the wife of Asclepius, but also the lover of Apollo. So therefore, Asclepius, the god of healing, did not heal her, but he killed her.
Oh, this sounds like Thessalonica almost. Thessalian. Thessalian princess. Ugh. Yeah.
Apollo, she became the mother of Asclepius, the Greek god of medicine. The mother of Asclepius. During her pregnancy, she committed adultery with a mortal man. She was turned into a constellation after that. Let's look it up here. Asclepius. He is the son of Apollo and Coronis. So she's the moon goddess, actually.
Well, I guess we're entering the bottomless pit again today for the...
Yeah, sorry for mixing it. Sorry for mixing that up. You see that sometimes.
No, it's understandable. I mean, how much of this information can we prove? You know, we're just going to have to take it with a grain of salt, I guess, and learn as we go, Michael. And this is how it works.
Death and resurrection as a god. Oh my! Not again! Not again! All these legends.
Yep.
All these legends. Yeah, but
this is the origin of it all, you know. And we find the same thing in the Roman Catholic Church too. When we study that, there's a lot of things that have to do with superstition and mythology, and it's all mixed up. So it's just a matter of time keeping our nose to the grindstone. We're going to learn more as we go. I think we're, you know, not that it's of any real use other than just knowing the origin of where it comes from.
The therapeuti is Latin from therapeutei. and means one who is attendant to the gods, although the term and the related adjective therapeutikos carry in later text the meaning of attending to heal. My.
Like therapy.
Like therapy, yeah.
Oh,
which actually nowadays means
serpent
just
therapy. Yeah, that's what we got.
Yeah.
Yeah. No surprise, really.
Yeah. Once you start,
get yourself a toga and a couple snakes, and you fit right in.
You only have to serve the snake system. You see?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's really what they teach, don't they? With the rhetoric and all that.
Yeah.
The sophists. Yeah, it's really something to study.
Yeah, the Americans, they have confused it with caduceus. He's got two snakes, so that you see the medical corps has two snakes. And that's a problem because the caduceus is a traditional symbol of Hermes. Then you are once again in the Olymp, in the mythology of the Greek. It doesn't end. It simply doesn't end.
No.
He's the messenger of the gods or the herald of the gods. Yeah, la 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 la. The god of travel, the protector of travel, blah 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 blah. Yeah, you see that it never ends. But in this satanic antichrist,
the two-snake caduceus design has ancient and consistent associations with trade, liars, thieves, eloquence, negotiation, alchemy, and what? Wisdom.
Yeah, the snake.
Oh, great. Great. That's so smart. The U.S. Army Medical Corps. That reminds me also of that seal from the Army from what, 1775. Oh, man. Incredible what they admit through these symbols.
Oh, my. Where does it end?
Well, don't, again, this isn't meant to offend anyone. I'm sure there's going to be people that have served in the army. They
absolutely correct. The problem is that they are not into symbolism.
They were forced to do it when they were young. I mean, just like when we went to school and we had to learn all this false stuff too. I mean, we're all in this together here. We're not here to make mockery out of people who served and maybe even died.
And now they are mentioning the Torah. Oh no, don't get me. The Torah.
Oh, sure, of course.
Yeah. So, what have we learned in Numbers? Did they place two serpents on a staff? Oh my.
Oh, it doesn't. Wait. The Pope has a staff with two serpents. What's the deal there?
Oh wait,
no, the bishop. I'm sorry.
The bishop. Okay, yeah, maybe he
bishop of wasn't it the Eastern Orthodox bishop, Michael? Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
The catalogue of good deeds. The serpent of the Orthodox. Yeah, well put, Brett.
I mean, I've looked into this stuff before, Michael.
Yeah, and once again, they are mentioning Numbers 21.
Oh, and then the staff of the Pope, that's a serpent too.
Yeah.
What do you call that staff he carries around? Not the bent cross. That's something else. That's the Antichrist art or whatever. But there's the bishop's staff of the Roman Church has one serpent, not two. So, they are really into
actually the staff of the bishop is a snake symbol in itself.
That's
but
right.
They tell you it's a shepherd symbol, but it isn't.
Do they call it a crozier or something? What is it?
Oh, what are they coming up with? My.
Well, this one, the crucifix. What would you expect? Yeah.
My.
But one of the researchers that I like online, who does happen to be a Seventh-day Adventist, he was talking about it. But I think
it is very obvious here that it is a snake head.
Yep, it is.
Yeah, it's very obvious. It does not serve any other purpose than to depict a snake head, a head of a snake. Yeah, it does not have any purpose. You cannot hang it anywhere. You cannot fix it anywhere. You cannot do anything with that last part of that staff. It's just to depict.
And then you have the mitre they wear, which is the fish head, the Babylon priesthood. Yeah. It's right in our face, Michael. It's everywhere.
It does not serve any other purpose than to depict the so-called God of this world.
Yep. That's right. I think the older ones are more obvious, but the newer ones aren't so much.
Mm-hmm.
In general. Mm-hmm. It depends, though. They...
Yeah, you see, you want to have a similarity.
Oh.
I think this is very obvious here. Yeah? Or is it? I think it is very obvious.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to extend the session so much.
No, it's okay. It's fine. I don't mind at all. I don't mind at all.
You don't mind. You watch the sundown. You watch the sundown.
Right.
You're Saint Nicholas with the snake. Snake Nicholas. Pardon my French. It's very early this morning. Yeah, Snake Nicholas, and his sign of his sign of Roman suppression on its head. Oh my! It doesn't end. It doesn't end.
No,
huh?
Of course not.
It doesn't end. If you just start preaching the truth, then it doesn't end.
Oh yeah, Michael and I got together some hours ago when we were doing a session on kind of the same topic here of oh boy, yeah, it's a bottomless pit. It really is. I think one can only take so much, and then you got to give up for a while. It's too much. It's so rich and
now you know why I estimated that we have to do 80 to 100 sessions, because it is so much.
Well, it is so much that to get the ball rolling. Yeah,
it is so much, because you see that you can cover almost everything in our daily lives, which has been suppressed. Information, modified information,
it was
disinformation.
Mithras, Michael. That's what I was trying to remember. Mithras.
Mithras,
yeah. And that has to do with Christmas, doesn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just incredible how much that ancient doctrine has been mixed up with what people call Christianity.
Yeah, but maybe it was very important session that the people actually see where medicine comes from. Yeah, so that it has nothing to do with the one-time action that Moses did according to God's command. It has nothing to do. Moses was not a doctor.
Right.
Yeah. As I pointed out previously, I don't go into the Roman Empire because there are numerous accounts of things that we have covered on our sessions. It does not make any sense, because you see that Mitra is Proto-Indo-Iranian, means Persia.
Oh, yes, that's right.
The name of the Indo-Iranian divinity from which it names, and it shares some characteristics of Mitra and Avestan Mitra derived. You see, magic, anybody?
Mm-hmm.
It's just
Persian priesthood.
It's always the same.
Yeah.
It's like snowball. Once you get started, you cannot get rid of the thing. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and in the end, you'll be bombarded with it, and you have to cope with it, and you surely will die.
Mm-hmm.
You surely will die. You not surely die, but you surely will die. So the serpent, as a symbol of truth, has been lying from the start.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He has been lying from the start, and especially if you look at this.
Question, where do we give our consent? You're going to give it to the serpent? God forbid.
And the serpent said unto the woman, you shall not surely die. That was a lie. So people pretend the serpent to be wise. No, the serpent is a liar. Sure that the New Testament spoke about you shall be wise as serpents. Yeah, of course. But the serpent is a liar. We are not supposed to lie. We shall be wise as serpents,
and
but
harmless as doves.
Harmless as doves, yes.
There's the big kicker.
We do not act. We do not act.
Condemning, you know, yeah, you can rebuke. Yes, correct. But God is the one that condemns us for eternal life, not man.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope that precious souls get saved from eternal damnation, because that's not a good place for anyone, even our enemy.
Yeah, but people are being blinded with science, nonetheless. So that's no. So then, please, shall we end the session, and then hope to see you next time with the continuation of medicine and the continuation. I think that we can then shut down the sessions about Greece, and then we go on to the Roman Empire, and then we go down the road to the Middle Ages, and maybe some more interesting stuff is coming up. And I'm very glad that we covered this lot of sessions now, so that I think that by the end of the year, maybe we will have the majority of things around, and there will be so many things, and also then we can come to the recent situation. I'm very curious to learn how the recent situation will be, or the actual situation will be in December, January.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
It's really strange right now. Actually, I hope that things can turn around a bit, but you just don't know. It's just impossible to say, Michael. You know, I can't put much faith in this world, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's always the same, Greco-Roman, and what's the deal in going into any deception? You see that once you know the system, you know that you have been misled.
Yeah.
Or if in the name of a so-called quote from Mark Twain, I think it was, who said that if you don't read a newspaper, you're not informed. If you read a newspaper, then you're misinformed.
Yeah, that's right. Boy, talk about a dilemma.
Yeah. Yeah, between a rock and a hard place.
Man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, and that sums it up, you know, the narrow path, it isn't always easy, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Very difficult, very difficult. Confronting the lies of Satan, the lies of the devil, and then actually turning to God in prayer. That's the answer. Turning to the Spirit of truth. And the only mediator between God and man is Christ Jesus. In the scriptures, in the Bible, in the Old Covenant, all the way to the New Covenant, this is what we're speaking of. Yeah, from the book of Daniel all the way to now. The 10 toes of the Roman Empire. That's where we're at. The feet of iron mixed with miry clay. And that kingdom is a divided kingdom. And there's no way that this is going to end nicely for both parties, Michael. It's going to be, I mean, unless Almighty God has some plans, I'm sure that we don't know. But one thing's for sure, doesn't hurt to study and to be prepared or the spiritual lessons that are in the Bible, that are in the eschatology, that we can peer into today still, while we still have time. So God's grace be with you, and hope that you're reading your Bible and relying on the Spirit of truth. And we'll catch up with you next time. And God's grace be with you, and Maranatha.